Welcome into the Ultimate Cavaliers show. Mikey McNuggets, Jason Lloyd joining you as always. 8:30, little later for Cavs and coffee. But Jason, when the Cavs are on a West Coast road trip and the games don't start till 9:15 p.m., then we have an excuse to wait an extra half an hour to discuss it. And for the first time in a long time, Jason, we are hopping on to do an Ultimate Cavs show that doesn't feel like the previous 12 iterations of the Ultimate Cavaliers show. Cleveland finishes its West Coast road trip with 4 straight wins. They've won 9 of their last 10. They're in 4th place in the East. They're just a game and a half out of 2nd. The tide seems to be turning, and James Harden is a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll dive into all of that and expansion in a second, Jason. But let's start with the win last night against Denver, one of the best teams in the entire NBA with Jokic back. They were down double digits in the 4th, erased a double-digit fourth-quarter deficit, and Donovan Mitchell hit 2 clutch free throws to secure the 117 win. Jason, your big takeaway from the Cavaliers' big win in Denver last night.
Donovan is playing with an energy that I haven't seen him play with most of the year. And that's not – and listen, Donovan's had a phenomenal year. But he just looks like he's reinvigorated after this trade. And this is by no means a dump on Darius. Like I think Darius is a good player. And I just think that what James brings is such a different level that this team needed. We've talked for years about the lack of size in the backcourt, and Darius' injury. We don't have to relitigate the whole thing. Everybody knows it. But to see something different now and to see the way that these two guys align, Donovan was celebrating the win last night like it was a playoff game. Mm-hmm. And those are hard wins in Denver at the end of a trip. A lot of times on those West Coast trips, Denver, for whatever reason, I don't know if I haven't looked at this, see if it's like this with other teams. But with the Cavs, it always seems like the trip ends in Denver or Salt Lake because you're already headed home. You're started to back that way. But those are tough places to end a trip. Denver especially, maybe not so much Salt Lake, but Denver feels like a lot of trips end in Denver. And with the altitude and with everything else, and it's a recipe to get your head beat in on the last game of a road trip like that, of a long West Coast trip like that. And the way that these guys fought and competed and came back, it was impressive to see. So it was a good win. It was a very good win. And I just see it. Donovan just looks like he's reinvigorated since the trade.
It's an incredible win considering the circumstances, Jason. End of a 5-game West Coast road trip, a 12-day trip in Denver, where the altitude does take a legitimate toll on your legs if you're not used to playing there. That's why Denver is historically one of the best home court teams in the entire association. You have no practice time with your new tandem. I'm not even sure they've had a practice since they acquired Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, considering they've been on the road the entirety of the time that those two have been in the fold. Down 10 points to the MVP, or I know he's not the reigning MVP, but to a 2-time MVP in Jokic, to a team that knows how to close out opponents. And then you claw your way back in. And they started the comeback with Donovan on the bench. And James Harden was terrific in the 4th quarter again. He had 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists in the 4th, I believe, were his final 4th quarter numbers. In 2 games together now, Jason, how about this for a 4th quarter tandem of Donovan and James Harden? In their first game together, they became the first Cavaliers pair since the NBA.com tracking era began in 96-97 to each score 15 points in the 4th quarter. And then in their follow-up performance, Harden and Mitchell combined for 25 of the Cavs' last 26 points, including Harden's game-tying step-back 3, which was his patented move. And then Donovan obviously gets fouled with less than a second left, hits both free throws. We'll get to their pair and how they've kind of fit together through 2 games in a second. But that's the gutsy, grind-it-out, on-the-road kind of win that I think teams need to – you can't simulate. And in practice, you can't emulate those experiences, right? Like those are the things that you have to go throughout the course of an 82-game regular season to be ready to be in those situations come playoff time. And we talked about this at length last year, but the Cavs blew out so many teams that they just had so little experience in close games and closing out close games that I think that was a detriment to their playoff run when certain guys got hurt and they were down into the depths of their roster. A game like last night, Jason, at the end of a road trip, considering the opponent, considering the circumstances, considering the fact that these guys are still learning to play off each other, and as Donovan Mitchell said, we're just hooping off vibes. Like, it's an incredible comeback. And it's a regular season game. I don't want to over-exaggerate. It's one regular season game. I totally understand that. But It's an incredibly impressive win and an incredibly impressive end of a road trip for a team that has basically seen its entire mantra, attitude, ceiling, floor shift in the last 8 days.
And they didn't even shoot it well. Like
No.
those guys didn't even shoot it well last night. So what's it going to look like when they shoot it better? And I'm not a proponent of make a trade just to make a trade. Sometimes like we'll sit on the show and so many trade ideas get thrown out. And my first thought so often is, well, that's just a trade just to make a trade. But there are times where you just need to shake it up. And the Cavs had reached that point. And I didn't think that it was possible for them to do that. Like I said, I think that you are what you are. You got to ride this out and hope you get hot in the playoffs. And this sort of came together, and they were fortunate that this was able to come together like it was. But this team needed some sort of injection of life, and this trade has brought it. Now it's February 10th. We're not even to the All-Star break yet, so we got a long way to go till April. It doesn't feel like it, but it's a long way to go till April. So you just hope that health is the biggest thing. It's the biggest thing with this team. You just hope that they're healthy 2 months from now when this thing starts.
Yeah, and they're playing without Evan Mobley right now, who, in case anyone has forgotten, because it feels like he's taken a half step back this year. He was the second-team All-NBA performer last year, Jason. They're about to add the reigning DPOY and a second-team All-NBA guy back into the fold in the next couple of weeks here, and that should make them even more dangerous, give them more options offensively, and we'll see how he kind of fits into the mix. But right now, the Harden-Allen pick-and-roll combo has been terrific.
Yes.
I want to talk about Allen in a second. The way Donovan and James have kind of sort of played off each other. Donovan said after the first game against Sacramento, he was talking to Fedor, and he said, I got 4 or 5 catch-and-shoot threes. I can't remember the last time in my career I got 4 or 5 catch-and-shoot threes in the same game. Like, that's the James Harden effect, and that's kind of the sacrifice at times that Donovan's going to have to make.
Yeah.
But it could also – that sacrifice can also lead to open shots that he just simply was not going to get before based on how the offense operated. And I want to read you a quote. Shout out to Chris Fedor for being the one beat reporter who traveled with the team on the West Coast road trip. Donovan told Chris in a one-on-one conversation yesterday. Jason, I'm going to read you. It's a kind of long quote, so just bear with me, okay?
Yeah.
But I think it's very important to understand the entire context of what's at stake. This is Donovan Mitchell talking to Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com. I think you understand what's at stake. You see what's here. There's a window. This is the window. This is the time. In a sense, the team is going all in. It's time to go. When you make that move, understanding Harden's age, where he's at in his career, the time is now. There's no runway. In a sense, with a group like that, you sacrifice even more. You believe even more. You go out there and you feel it even more. And guess what? I love the pressure of it. I love the expectations of it. I love the questions that come from it. I love it. We need it. Embrace it. I think it's a little bit of a jolt for everybody. When you make a move like that, what are you making it for? To win a championship. Yep. That's it. End of story. The organization is basically saying, this is the time, and I love it. Now we have to go out there and do it, and we're not running from those expectations as a group. End quote.
Perfect.
He understands what's at stake.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it the whole time. James Harden, flaws and all, gave them a better shot to win right now than Darius Garland did. Yep. And it's an upgrade in every sense of the term in that one particular facet. Yep. Your end goal, win a championship. James Harden gives you a better chance to do that than Darius Garland did.
We talked about on the show yesterday that all the talk for years about this team has a long runway. Well, no, the runway's gone, and it's time to get the plane off the ground. And that's what this trade represents. And James will help him get him there. And when you talk about catch and shoots from Donovan and the sacrifice, yeah, on one hand, it's a sacrifice. On the other hand, he needs to be able to take some possessions off and stand in the corner and wait, or stand on the wing and wait and let somebody else create, just especially as this gets to April, May, and June. He's never had that luxury of being able to stand by and let somebody else get a shot for him. And we don't need to go through the whole thing again, but do you remember what the segment was called a couple of days ago? I thought you did a great job explaining James's impact and the way that he likes things run and how it's different from Donovan.
If you want to find it on YouTube, it's a 40-minute clip on just how will the Harden Mitchell fit work together. And we're going to talk about it in a second because I have some other thoughts on it now after seeing through 2 games.
Yeah, but we don't need to redo the whole, if you got something else to say, go ahead, but we don't need to redo the whole thing here. But I thought it was a great conversation of different styles of basketball. and how these guys have to work together to make it fit. But they're motivated to do that. So I have no doubt that they'll get there.
Well, let's kind of get to that in a roundabout way, Jason. Real quick, if you guys have any FanDuel tickets, send it in to us. We'll feature them on the show as soon as FanDuel comes back as a partner. They take a week off after the Super Bowl every year. It doesn't make sense to me why, but shout out to FanDuel. We appreciate it. If you ever win a FanDuel ticket, we'll read them next week when FanDuel's back in the UCSS fold. So not to rehash everything we said last time, Jason, because you go find that 40-minute clip. It was from Friday's show. Part of the reason Donovan didn't get that many catch-and-shoot opportunities with Darius was because they were still running the entire offense, regardless of who was in control of the ball, Darius or Donovan, through the Kenny Atkinson cut, move, rotate offense. James Harden has famously said, I don't fit the system, I am the system. And that's even more true now at 36 than it was when he was 28, 29, even though he's not necessarily the same player. I'll make this as simple as possible. James Harden wants everyone to be completely standstill in the spot where he wants them to be, so he's making reads off defenders where he knows where they'll be. And he's going to make the right read 98 out of 100 times. He's almost flawless making reads when he knows exactly what the defense is. So unlike when Darius was in control and Donovan was off ball in the Cavs' previous iteration of this team, there was constant motion. There was moving. It was very rarely everyone stand still at Darius, just ISO one-on-one or run pick and roll and have guys stationary in the corners because Kenny likes the movement. He likes the chaos it causes on defense. And that's counterintuitive to what James does best as a basketball player. So now that when James has the ball and Donovan understands, hey, I'm trying to make James's life as easy as possible. My job's now to stand still in the corner. Well, James is going to find him. And there was a play against Sacramento on Saturday night, late in the game when the Cavs needed a bucket, where they'd run the same pick and roll. The defense collapsed down to J.A. because he'd gotten 3 lobs and 6 assists from James or whatever the number was. And James with his left hand just swings it to the corner. Donovan makes the open 3. And it happened again last night. Donovan missed one of the open 3s. He had an opportunity to catch and shoot from Harden, but that's the sacrifice Donovan's going to make, and it actually could lead to more points. And it could lead to a fresher Donovan Mitchell come playoff time where hopefully his body, knock on wood, doesn't break down like it has in the last 2. So I don't actually think it's necessarily a negative for Donovan to take a few possessions off in that sense. He's not the primary creator. If his usage rate drops a few points, I think that's beneficial in the long run. And for a team that hasn't practiced together yet, Jason, and they've just had conversations, and we know Donovan, who said publicly, like, hey, James and I are both great players. We've talked about it. Great players make great offenses work. We'll figure it out. Through 2 games, it feels like they have a pretty good sense of how to play off each other without actually getting those game reps in. And if they're already this advanced, imagine 2-3 weeks from now and they've played 10, 12, 15 games together. And they know how each other operates. And they know when one sees this, Donovan may take a half step left or a half step right to give James a better pass. The possibilities are endless. And I said it before, I'll say it again. First tandem in Cavs history since 96, 97 to score 15 or more together in a fourth quarter. And they scored 25 and 26 last night. Good luck trying to stop that. What are you going to do? Blitz Donovan and let James go 4-on-3? Blitz James, let Donovan go 4-on-3? Get the ball out of their hands? Well, you're going to leave Tyson or Sam Merrill, who are 2 of the 5 best 3-point shooters, wide open in the corner, or they're going to throw a lob to Jarrett Allen or Evan Mobley. Good luck. Just good luck. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Great players figure it out. And those are 2 great players, so they'll figure it out. And they don't need a lot of practice time. I don't know that practice for players like that. I mean, you played, you know this better than me, but for players like that, I don't even know if practice really helps them. It's just the rhythm of the game. They just have to get in game moments in the rhythm of the game. What can you simulate in practice for them? You see what I'm saying? I just think that they need the game reps and just feel out each other's rhythms. So in terms of just chemistry and playing together, I don't know that getting James familiar with what the Cavs like to do. Yeah, you probably need to practice for that. For them to just feel each other out and get the chemistry of each other, I think that comes in games.
Can I tell you where practice helps, Jason?
Yeah.
And it's less Don and James, but it's the bigs. And it's playing off the bigs. So James is going to tell J.A. or Mobley, I want you to set a screen like this. And just like blocking in football, sometimes you block for different running backs slightly different. If you know a guy's patient, you're not as aggressive. A guy's a screen, there are nuances to it.
Yep.
There are nuances to setting screens. Some guys like a screen directly flat. So they want you shoulders parallel to the sideline out of bounds so they can turn the corner on a guy.
Yep.
Some guys who want to be able to shoot, like Steph Curry, Draymond Green was on a podcast a couple weeks ago, was terrific about the different kinds of screens he's get for Clay, KD, and Steph. You want to set it with a little higher angle so the defender can't get over it, forcing him to go under or trying to dictate him going under to then give Steph more space to shoot. Same with Clay. Well, those are the things in practice that you can drill down on and get the right footing and get the right angles that then lead to the secondary action for a Donovan. So, for example, if James, who can, I have to watch more and see how James wants his screens. I'll dive into that. But let's say he wants it at a flat angle so James can turn the corner, get to his left hand, right?
Yeah.
And then he wants Allen to short roll in those situations as opposed to go straight to the rim. Well, if Allen's in a short roll, if James is going this way and Allen's in a short roll and Donovan's in the corner, there's no angle for a pass. That's where Donovan's got to come higher to the wing, so it's not a straight line where two defenders can take three guys at once. So that's the kind of stuff in practice I think they can work on, as opposed to the actual you go, I go. When you dribble for a third time left, you're more of a passer than a shooter. That stuff comes with game reps. But I do think there are little nuances to kind of the intricacies of how he wants certain things set for each other that you can work on in practice.
And then the only other thing I would add, and again, go back and watch the 40-minute clip from Friday. I'll be curious when Evan gets back. I think you got it right with the pairings. I think it's obviously the starters are the starters. You know who the starters are. But once you start getting into rotations, it's Jarrett with James and Donovan with Evan. I think we've already seen Jarrett and what he can do and what he can become with James on the floor and set him up on pick and rolls. And Donovan and Evan already have a little bit of a rhythm and a chemistry together. So there are, when you going back to what you're saying with so many different options and weapons and things you can do, the way that this is set, I mean, when you've got two more or less, a big and a wing, comfortable with each other like this, and they're always going to be on the floor together, that's hard to stop.
Yeah, you have two basically all-stars at any given point on the court.
Yeah.
And you have two pick and roll combinations, Allen Harden, Don Mobley, with good shooters around them. It's the hardest play. There's a reason every team runs 100 variations of pick and roll.
Yep.
Most actions in the NBA are just window dressing to get to a pick and roll with a matchup they want. Like a lot of the pre-pick and roll movement in the first 6 seconds of a play is just to get a certain switch so then you can get the pick and roll you want. And we talked about this at length, but no one was going to benefit more from this trade than Jarrett Allen. And Jason, on the West Coast road trip, 5 games for Jarrett, 22.6 points. He shot 70.6% from the floor, 11.6 rebounds, a block, 1.2 blocks per game. Obviously, it came without Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before because even the Portland game was pre-James Harden when he had 41 points. He plays with a different intensity, aggression. Just it feels like he's a different player with and without Mobley alongside him on the court. That's something the Cavs are going to have to figure out. But I also think as a collective of Cavs fans, analysts, reporters, I've put Jarrett Allen in more fake trades than anyone in the history of humanity. Like, I'm the first to admit it. But we always knew Jarrett Allen's a talented player. It was less of a Jarrett stinks and more of a he's just the most movable of all the pieces. A player like that is very dependent on the people delivering the basketball. And in 2 games already, the connection he has with James Harden and James' consistent emphasis on feeding the big if you're not going to step up is going to make Jarrett Allen's stats inflate like a hot air balloon. And it's already looking like those two down the like if I'd asked you a week ago, if the Cavs needed a bucket, would you feel comfortable running a Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland pick and roll? And like most people say no, like that's not a good option for the Cavs if they needed a bucket. Well, what if I said now the Cavs need a bucket? Is their best option a James Harden, Jarrett Allen pick and roll? Like the answer might very well be yes to that question, Jason.
Yeah. And
Jarrett Allen's going to change a lot of opinions of him over the next 29 games, but none of it's going to matter if he shrinks again in the postseason.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like we can sit here and talk him up now, and it's great, and he's playing great. He has to do it in May and June because he's vanished too often in the postseason at both ends of the floor. And you see the numbers that he's put up without Evan, and it's great, and it's good to know that it's there. But that has to go away. There's only so much oxygen in the room, and there's so many shots you're going to take, and you're not going to allocate. You're not going to feature. You're not going to run plays for Jarrett Allen when you've got Donovan and James. Now you're going to run pick and roll. Like, let me clarify. You can run a pick and roll with Harden and get him a look at the rim, but you're not coming out of an ATO and saying, okay, we got to get the ball to Jarrett. So he's going to get the leftovers. That's the way it's been in his career. That's the way it's going to continue to be. And when some guys are missing, he can have nights like he had in Portland where you drop a 40 burger on him. But his role is not to score 40 points a night. His role is to play defense, rebound, and be there to clean up around the rim. And so I've been hard on him too. And I love what he can do with Harden. But until he does it in May and hopefully June, I'm still going to be skeptical because we've just seen it too often. We've seen him vanish too often. Is Harden going to be the difference? It might be. James' presence and keeping him involved might be the thing that unlocks it. But until we see it, I just can't fully buy in on it. But I'm obviously encouraged by the way he's played so far.
It was also on the West Coast road trip. Like I said, 22.5 points. You shoot 70% from the floor, Jason. You're going to keep hitting the rock. 12 rebounds, a block and a half. Like, that's the Jarrett Allen the Cavs need come playoff time. Yeah. And whether he's with Mobley or not, like, the rebounding should not be that drastically different. Obviously, Evan's going to grab some extra rebounds. James is a pretty good rebounder for the guard position, so the numbers may not look exactly the same, but he's a better rebounder than we see kind of on a night-to-night basis. Harden obviously elevates that from him. And it's not just Allen that Harden's going to elevate. It's Merrill and Tyson and those guys who can stand in the corner and knock down threes. You made the great point yesterday, like when you play with LeBron, you know, LeBron may dominate the ball for 22 seconds, but when he kicks it to you in the corner with 2 seconds left, you better make those shots. And certain guys are built for that. Certain guys aren't. Some guys have thrived playing with James Harden in that specific role. Some guys need to move around and whatnot. And that's what I think the next 29 games for Kenny Atkinson in particular is going to be the biggest challenge. Which guys are more comfortable being the stationary standstill? I'll still play my ass off on defense. I know I'm not going to be involved that much in the offense to the last 2 seconds, but I'll be ready to catch and shoot and fire when I'm needed, versus who needs to play with the quote-unquote Donovan shift, where there still will be more motion. There'll be more of the traditional Cavs offense we've seen in the past. And I think guys like Sam Merrill and Max Strus are more of the movement kind of guys. I think a guy like Jalen Tyson, a guy like Dean Wade, more of the stationary guys. Keon Ellis, a stationary guy. And I have found it interesting, Jason. Craig Porter Jr. has been kind of the guard. He's paired up with James Harden. And it's 2 games. The tiniest sample size. Fully aware but Craig Porter Jr. has been the guard that Kenny's tandemed with James Harden in those first shifts. And he's left Schroeder and Ellis to play more with the Donovan, I'll call them shifts, but the Donovan shift through 2 games. So at least just something to monitor. Craig's got to make shots, or else I'm not sure where he fits in with either kind of unit moving forward, just with the depth they have at the guard position, especially when Strus comes back. But over the next 29 games, the incorporation of Evan Mobley back into the fold, how Harden and Donovan just learn to play off each other a little better, and then which guards do they put in which shift, I think are the 3 things I'm most looking forward to here.
If I'm a shooter and I thrive in catch and shoot situations, I think like Channing Frye. Channing Frye, you say all the time, if I got my feet set, you're dead. Like if I'm in the corner and I got my feet set, it's in. Mm-hmm. And if you're a shooter who can thrive under that, you want to play with guys like Harden and LeBron because they're going to make you a lot of money in your career. And I think back to I've mentioned this before, the Dellavedova contract with Milwaukee. LeBron got that man paid. And Delly was a wonderful, scrappy player. He was not an elite talent by any means, but he was a terrific catch and shoot 3-point shooter playing alongside LeBron. And he made a lot of money. And he got to Milwaukee, and Milwaukee went, this is not the same player that we saw last year on film in Cleveland, but it's the air that playing with those guys provides. But you better deliver. You better hit that shot. When that ball comes to you with 1 or 2 seconds left and there's no time to make a decision, you got to go up with it. You better make that shot. And if you do, you're going to be a very rich man. Yeah.
That's probably the most simplistic way to put it. And it's 100% right. And we're going to find out which guys kind of need to be a little more involved. And by the way, there are really good players that don't kind of fit that system. And there are really bad players who thrive. And really, sorry, that's here in the NBA, it's not really bad. But there are guys who play way above the level you'd expect in those situations. Certain guys are kind of built for it. Certain guys aren't.
I'll give you a name. I think Kyle Korver really struggled playing alongside LeBron.
Yes.
And because he's a guy who famously loved to come off pin downs and shoot off pin downs. And here it was exactly what you're saying. Stand there and wait. And it's just when you've played one way, one style your whole career, it's very difficult to then transition into something else.
Can I give you another name?
Yeah.
Let's name a couple real quick. Klay Thompson, obviously older, but he went to Dallas last year after being in Golden State where they moved nonstop. He's not just, I mean, he's a good stand in the corner shooter, but that's not the player Klay Thompson is. He's falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
Even though he said Kevin Love, right? Like Kevin Love had success in Cleveland. I'm not trying to diminish what he did. Kevin Love went from being a guy that ran an offense to a guy that got put in the corner as a spot up shooter. And he had success with it, but that's not the Kevin Love that you came at the Cavs traded the first overall pick for. It ended up working out. They won a championship, but you could speak on that even better.
Oh, yeah. You're 100% right. And the growing pains that they went through and that he went through and trying to figure out his role and to try and figure out how he fit, it's very different. And that's why I'm just saying, if you thrive in that, if you can be a catch and shoot guy and you like the pressure of here it comes, and you have no choice. It's a shot clock. Either you shoot it or it's a shot clock violation. If you make those, you will be very wealthy playing alongside guys like Harden and LeBron.
I will look up for the end of the week when you're on Friday, Jason. I'll find a list of guys that James Harden has played with who have fit that role to a T and made a lot of money. And Shane Battier is one name that comes to mind from early in his career with Houston, who had the same role with Miami. And those kind of guys, like you said, can thrive, make a lot of money. We got one last thing we got to touch on, Jason. I mentioned FanDuel tickets. Well, our guy, Aiden Griswold, just sent one in the last few minutes. This is a multi-part NBA money line parlay, or he had the spread on a couple, but he bet $1, Jason, won $145.80.
Attaboy.
Aiden win some money. Make sure you send us in your winning FanDuel tickets so we can feature them here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. All right, last thing we got to touch on, Jason, the NBA, and we'll do this quickly, reportedly is looking to expand. They're going to, in the near future, add 2 more teams, if you believe the reports, which have been out there for quite a while. This is not a new report. The 2 most likely home.
Oh, this has been 10 years in the works.
Yeah. I'm just saying, we knew it's coming, but it's still technically just reported at the time. The 2 new franchises will be in Seattle and Las Vegas. Jason, your thoughts on expansion?
It's time. Seattle never should have lost its team in the first place. It's a great market. It's a great sports town. I'm not sold. Vegas is probably inevitable. I don't love it. The Raiders don't draw. Now the Knights do, like the hockey team there draws pretty well.
Awesome attendance.
Yeah. Football, not so much. I'm curious to see about baseball, how baseball will draw. I'm skeptical. And so I don't know that it's really a rabid sports town. And it's funny, you would think Vegas with all the gambling, it would be a great spot. It hasn't really transferred, at least with football. So we'll see. But Seattle certainly deserves a team. The franchise fee, that's really what the owners want, is the fees that come with it. The owners have to pay to purchase the team. They're going to be astronomical figures. And then we'll have an expansion draft, and haven't had one of those in quite a while. So that'll be fun.
Well, you get to protect 8 guys in an expansion draft. And if you look at the Cavs right now, I think they have more than 8 guys they'd like to protect. We're going to do that exercise later in the week on which 8 guys would you choose to protect in an expansion draft.
I saw some weird things on Twitter, like I saw like people coming up with their list, and there was names like Dean Wade and Schroeder. I'm like, you don't protect those guys.
No.
So when are you doing that?
I'll probably say it for Friday when you're on.
Yeah, do it Friday. Yeah, we can talk about that, because there's a method to that, and you want, a lot of times you expose your expensive veterans. You want those guys taken. You
want the contracts off the books. Yeah,
you protect the young cheap guys.
Yeah, so we'll do that Friday. Let me make a note of it right now, Jason. Talk for 30 seconds so I can write this down.
Well, I'm not very good at that. Well, the other thing I'll say, I'll be curious to see the ownership structures of these teams.
Could LeBron be part of the Vegas ownership?
I mean, he's still playing. It depends on when they're awarded, and there's timelines involved in that. I'm going to keep my powder dry on LeBron and ownership. I'm not ready yet, but Vegas, certainly he's been tied to Vegas for quite a while. I think there's another team around here that makes a lot more sense than Vegas.
I agree. In terms of the expansion, I'm all in favor of it. There's so many talented dudes in the league right now, Jason. There's like 80 players I think can score 20 points a game in the NBA if they had the right opportunity. Like I genuinely think there's like that many guys.
Well, that goes back to I don't think you were here for the Colin Sexton wars.
I was not.
Everybody was raving about, like, people were just, oh, Colin Sexton can score 20 points. And I'm like, guys, Colin Sexton is not what people are making him out to be. But that's to your point that listen, it's never easy to score in an NBA game. I don't want to diminish it. I could never do it. But it's a lot easier to get 20 now than it was. Like, if you averaged 20 years ago, you're an all-star. Now, everybody averages 20. A lot of guys average 20.
I mean, there's rookies, like multiple, right on the 20-point barrier threshold, despite their different situations. I just think there's so many talented guys across the league now, Jason, that we're seeing really, 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 really talented players get buried as 8th, 9th, 10 guys on the bench where they're just too good for that.
Yeah.
Like I think the league's at a point where there's enough talent that you could take the 9th, 10th guy off each team if you protect 8 and put 2 more franchises in without having the whole product be watered down. My issue with it in the past when they talked about this was I didn't think the league was talented enough, especially in like the 2012, 2013 era.
Yeah.
Like you had your big threes and there were teams that were terrible, but even like Jason, the Pacers are the worst team in basketball right now based off standings. Let me confirm that real quick. The Pacers have 13 wins. No, like the Kings have 12 wins. Okay. They're the worst team in basketball. You ready for this?
Yeah.
On the Kings roster right now, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, Russell Westbrook, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, DeAndre Hunter, Nick Clifford, who I like, Devin Carter.
That's 9.
Those are 9 legitimate NBA play. Like,
yeah,
that's the worst team in basketball. Who's another terrible team? Utah, for example, right? Utah's in the chase for the top pick.
Yeah.
Utah. They just traded for Jaren Jackson Jr., Lauri Markkanen, Keontae George, Jaren Jackson Jr., Walker Kessler, Ace Bailey. They traded Walter Clayton Jr. He's out. Cody Williams was a lottery pick last year. 7 or 8, like, even the worst teams now are deep enough where you have a little bit of depth that if they were to just add 2 more teams, I don't think we're going to go to these absolute travesties.
No.
And dumpster fires like we saw with the Sixers when they were tanking for the Embiid trust the process era.
And it creates 30 more jobs in the NBA. 2 teams, 15 the roster spots.
Oh, sorry. You're right.
Right?
No, you're right. My math, I was very wrong. My math was wrong.
I was like, wait a minute, we had 4 teams?
You're very right. I was very wrong.
So it adds 30 new jobs, 30 new positions across the NBA. And I agree with you on the talent level. I do think that it's higher now than it's been. Guys are able to do more things. It's a funny conversation because I do think the talent is better than ever, yet at the same time, I think fundamentals are worse than ever. And just the whole way that Americans coach basketball, I think, is broken. And we can have that whole conversation about who's the next American MVP and da-da-da-da-da. But in terms of expansion, yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a good thing.
All right, Jason, that's going to wrap it up. We got to head into UCSS. We'll talk more Cavs today. We're leading the show with some Cavaliers talk coming up in an hour and 54 minutes. Our biggest audience on an Ultimate Cavs show in a long, long time, Jason, which means the energy, the enthusiasm, the excitement for this squad is back. And it was nice to do a little bit of a different show than Are the Cavs Turning the Corner? Because this time, Jason, they are turning the corner. 9 of 10, 4 in a row to end the West Coast road trip. They have Washington at home on Wednesday, James Harden's home debut before the All-Star break. I will be there. Hopefully you will be there. And we'll be talking about it on Thursday on UCSS. For Jason Lloyd, I'm Mikey McNuggets. Peace.